Introducing the Gifts of Trauma podcast, brought to you by Compassionate Inquiry. Stories of transformation and healing through compassionate inquiry. Here's a taste of what's coming.
I think human experience proves a lot if one knows how to look at it properly. So this whole idea that everything has to be studied and documented, it's just like, let me ask you a question. Has anybody ever proven that love exists in a laboratory test tube? Ask somebody to tell me, prove to me that love exists, You can't. What you can show is the impact of when love is missing. Yeah, what you need is stories, what you need is people with their experiences and what they've learned from their experiences, or what they are willing to learn from their experiences, from their challenges, from their so-called pathologies, from their difficulties, and what lessons can they derive.
Beneath the surface are these very similar core beliefs. These very similar core beliefs of fundamental lack, fundamental not enoughness.
We talked recently about the idea of things that you were taught and things that you caught. And I know from a very, very, very early age that we just knew. You just knew where to go, where not to go, what to say, what not to say, how to look, what not to look, who to look at, who not to look at. That level of vigilance that we lived with. You said a certain level of vigilance. For me, that was all the time.
But I can feel it in my body. I can feel the tension. I can feel what that feels like, to be recalling what it was like to live that way and not being able to please those people that I cared about, but who couldn't see me. So taking care of them was more important than me taking care of me.
And if we move through life with these beliefs unaddressed, then guess what happens? We pass those beliefs on to the next generation. It's not about blame. It's not our fault that these programs have been installed and programmed into our nervous system, whether they're intergenerational, whether they're from the womb, whether they're from childhood, whether they're simply spiritual and cosmic in nature. We didn't put them there. But it is our personal responsibility. No one else is going to be able to unravel them for us. No one else is going to be able to look inward and do that work.
So for anyone listening to this saying, hang on, I do that. And for anyone thinking, I'm ready to move away from that, or I would like to move away from that, how do they do that?
In the personal realm, I always have my own challenges, and the biggest one, if I could sum it up that way, is the gap between what I'm able to teach the world and the truths, at least as best I can clarify them, that flow through me, that people appreciate, with all these thousands of people internationally come to hear me speak and 2.6 million followers on Instagram, whatever that means. So there's, on the one hand, there's that, and the persona and the public image that goes with it. In other words, the person who's out there and the persona that's fixated in people's minds is not who I am. And so bridging that gap, I don't want that gap anymore. And I just like that unity that I talk about to be more active in my life, and that takes work on my part. So that's what excites me on a personal level.
Compassion inquiry helped me to understand what was missing in my childhood. It gave me my childhood back. If our compassion does not include ourselves, it's incomplete.
The Gifts of Trauma podcast kicks off on Thursday, June 13th. You can be sure to catch the first show by subscribing right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever platform you receive your shows.